For USCFootball.com, Connor Morrissette, Chris Trevino. We're here on campus after USC's Tuesday practice of Michigan week. Pretty eventful day, Chris. A lot of energy. We saw Cameron Fountain come out and immediately start bringing the ruckus, the energy. He was pumped to get back at practice. I'd say a lot more life than what we saw last week when it was kind of the team, I wouldn't say lifeless, that's a stretch, but just more energy today.
It was the bye week, you kind of tone it down a little bit, you reset, you get healthy, some guys not practicing, but definitely felt the boost in energy when they were coming out, and I noted that in my ghost notes. They felt like a team excited to play a game this weekend and eager to get back on the field.
And Lincoln Riley sounded like a coach who's really excited to get back out there, set the record straight. I don't think anyone liked how that went against Illinois. USC, they had the bye week. They didn't get a chance to respond, so now they will against Michigan, a top 15 team in the country. So we heard some injury updates today from Lincoln Riley. The first thing, Jakeem Stewart did not practice today, but he's been out for a couple Tuesdays in a row here and usually comes back Wednesday, so we'll watch that tomorrow. Alex Graham is progressing well, but Lincoln Riley said, I don't know if it will be this week for Alex Graham. So my question to you, Chris, if Alex Graham doesn't go, which based on what Lincoln Riley said makes sense, Kamari Ramsey is back from food poisoning. Is he the nickel? Is D. Reddick's emergence going to allow for Ramsey to move back? If Graham can't play, how does that affect the secondary?
I'm going to assume that Kamari Ramsey would be your starting nickel for this game, but they will mix Kendarius Reddick and D. Reddick in a little bit, just to give him some of that taste, more reps out there for certain series. That's my expectation for him. We saw he's a little bit limited today. That's been the case for him, when he first enrolled at USC. But overall, I think Kamari Ramsey is going to take over the nickel, and then you'll see D. Reddick mix in a little bit. Probably get Kamari Ramsey moved around a little bit differently. But it's a interesting problem to have with the three safeties that have been playing, at different levels right now. But to have those three experienced safeties out there, Christian Pierce playing some really good ball right now, so it's like hard to talk about taking him off the field. And obviously Bishop Fitzgerald's had some big plays, and then Kamari Ramsey. So some decisions will have to be made. But at the end of the day, I think Kendarius Reddick is going to get a little bit of time after building some momentum against Illinois.
Yeah, I thought he had a nice game against Illinois. That's what's going to be so interesting to see. What changes does USC make defensively? Because whatever they did against Illinois didn't quite work. A few other injury notes. So Elijah Page walked out, and it looked like he participated. But Lincoln Riley afterwards said that Page has a chance to play. He's not a shoo-in. We'll see how it plays out the rest of the week. Here's why you watch instant analysis. We feel like he's probably going to play more than Riley let on, or maybe I'm speaking for both of us and I should only be speaking for myself. I think Page is more likely to play than Riley let on. What do you think?
I would agree. I think Page is not a shoo-in to play, but I feel pretty strongly about...
not 100%.
Not 100%, but I feel he's a heavy probable to suit up this weekend. It's a big game, big opportunity. Lincoln Riley likes to not keep his cards close to the chest and not give away anything. He's not going to come out and say, Page is going to play. He's going to be, he's an injured guy. He has the advantage of being like, we'll see if he's going to play. Keep it shrouded a little bit. But the way he was moving, coming out of practice, again, it was a knee thing. You want to be sure on that. But I feel pretty good about Elijah Page returning to the starting lineup this weekend.
Yeah, so we both think he'll be out there. As for Jacoby Lane, it sounds like he's still limited, Chris, but he was able to play at the end of that Illinois game. He's obviously going to have a role. I'd be surprised if he didn't have a role, but I don't know if he'll be 100% quite yet with that shoulder.
Absolutely. I feel like he's healthier than he was against Illinois, and he played, 30 snaps in that game, something like that, had some key catches there at the end. I think he's going to be impactful in this game. I think he's going to play more than he did. We'll see him a lot more usage-wise against Michigan. I think that was the goal all along, is to get him back to a place where he can be ready relatively to what he was a couple weeks ago, ready to contribute in this big game. This is a huge game for USC. This is a must-win game for them. So they need their best players, and they need Jacoby Lane back in that lineup.
We mentioned on the last week's instant episode, so a couple defensive linemen weren't out. Keyshawn Silver was one of them. Jamal Jarrett was one of them, but they're both back, so that's great. Brian Jackson made a big return to practice today, so that was great to see. It sounds like he's not going to play against Michigan, kind of like Alex Graham, where he was out there a couple weeks ago but then didn't play against Illinois. He's trending in the right direction, probably too soon for him, but that's encouraging all the same. And then a few guys were limited, but no one who was limited we expect to miss the game. So hopefully that gives you the injury updates that you were looking for. As for what we heard after practice, Big question we've got this week, Chris. Who is the backup center? Lincoln Riley had an answer for that with Killian O'Connor going down and John Ray Reed getting the first start. If for whatever reason Reed can't play, who steps in? What was Riley's answer?
Kalon Miller, the backup interior guy, more of a backup guard, but we did see him take some center stuff last year during the bowl prep and stuff, so he is that option there. Honestly, I thought it would be the true freshman Willie Washer, who they really like and who stepped up as like the backup during spring camp when Killian went down initially. So it was January Reed, then Willie Washer. Again, true freshman center, that's a lot to throw at him. It looks like they want a little bit more experience, but Willie Washer isn't a guy, who played tackle all his high school career. He was a center all his high school career. So he's a little more experienced than your typical center, which is usually a guy you move to the center positions. He's been playing it his whole life. So I thought maybe that would give him a little bit of an edge over whoever the backup is, but it looks like Kalon Miller is the new backup center with the whole shifting going on with Killian O'Connor.
So Michigan coach Sherrone Moore, he's been talking this week, Chris, and he mentioned how it's going to be a sellout for USC, and that's because Michigan is coming to town. He also had some thoughts on the betting line, the fact that USC was a favorite. They're a 2.5-point favorite as we're filming this. So he's been saying a few things. Lincoln Riley was asked about Moore's comments today regarding the Coliseum being full and whether that's Michigan or whether USC he feels like will have a good home field advantage. And Riley's response was, I don't really care what he says. We're looking forward to playing. Not that we haven't seen any fire this year from Lincoln Riley or in his career, but that struck me as a little bit different than what we've heard traditionally. And if I was a USC fan, that makes me feel pretty good about USC this week. Of course, you can only read so much into what coaches have to say. It seems like Riley's really anticipating USC making a statement this week. Am I reading too much into it?
Maybe a little bit, but a little spicy.
Yeah.
A little spicy response, a little short answer. I'm not going to give that any time of day. Obviously, I don't know if you said it. I don't know, but that was based on Moore's comments about that. The game was sold out because of the Michigan fans were the ones that were selling that out. So I expect a lot of Michigan fans, but I also expect a lot of USC fans. Obviously, this is a massive game. Said it earlier in this instant analysis. This is a must-win for USC. Talked about it on the Helium Boys. The most important game of the season. You have to win this game to set up your back half of the season. So USC has to come out of a win on Saturday in the Coliseum. And again, it's going to be a tough opponent. Really good defense, really good run game, but USC has no excuses. They have to come out with this win.
The loser would go to 2 losses early in October. Not impossible to get into the college football playoff after that, but very, very challenging for both teams when USC still goes to Oregon, Notre Dame. Michigan, of course, plays Ohio State. So it's big in that regard. Which team will show, hey, we're still in this, and which team will go to the lower part of the line. So you hope USC just responds. That's what's so unique about this game. They didn't get the chance to respond last week because they were on the bye. They were dealt that tough loss. We've seen teams respond like Illinois. They were blown out by Indiana. It's a little bit of a different situation where USC didn't lose that bad, losing on the last play of the game, but they haven't had a chance to respond. How will that defense respond? We'll see. We'll hear from D'Anton Lynn tomorrow to get some more insight into the defense. So a few more offensive notes. We heard from Wayman Jordan today. He said he's working on ball security drills, and he took full responsibility for some of those fumbles. He's had 2 this year. It's interesting, Chris. They both come on the first drive, I think, for USC. So maybe just early he's all jacked up and not holding on to the ball as much. It hasn't plagued him after that. So that'll be something to pay attention to. And he also said he's just really happy at USC. It's been everything he's expected and more so far, which is great because a lot of kids come to USC from high school. They're highly recruited guys. Jordan took the JUCO route. He's really enjoying himself so far, which is great to see.
Also, I heard a big photography guy or someone getting into photography.
Yes, good point. He was asking our friend Emily, who is one of the interns here for USC Athletics, all about her camera and how it works, and he said he wants to get a camera so he can take some pictures. So he had her demo a picture, and I think he liked it, so we'll see if he gets the Canon. I forget what model it was, but maybe that's an NIL deal in the future for him. Big photography guy.
We love an athlete that has interest outside of football.
Yes.
Show off a little your personality outside of football. You like photography, That's an interesting path. A lot of athletes take that path.
He's very personable, and that was great to see. So Big General Reed, Chris, is going to make his first start in a USC uniform on Saturday, filling in for Killian O'Connor. He spoke today. Sounded like he thought he might have an easier time adjusting to the offense at USC, which hasn't been the case, but it seems like he's up to speed now.
Just want to point out, we haven't heard from Big General in a while. No. Great speaker, great quotes, very, insightful. And he was pretty open about speaking about, when I came in here, he obviously lost the job to Killian O'Connor, and he was like, yeah, I thought coming in here I was going to be able to master that offense pretty quickly, but once I fully got into it, I felt like maybe I bit off a little bit more than I could chew. The other phrase that he used was a little bit too much dip on his chip. Haven't heard that phrase in a while, but, obviously kind of overwhelmed with it, and he talked about how the hardest part about learning this offense was the terminology of learning a new offense. He's a veteran guy. He's played in offenses before, obviously, and it was a process of like having to delete, that was the words he used, delete old terminology and phrasing that you had when you're calling an offense, and you have to master a new one. So it's like learning not an entirely new language, but a new system with new words and new phrases and all the vernacular that goes into that. So that's tough. And he admitted, it took a little bit of time, but he feels really confident right now, getting this opportunity, week sixth game for them, and getting his first start this weekend. He feels up to the task to, command this offense until Killian O'Connor gets back. And this is an opportunity for him to maybe keep the job if he plays really well. He has a lot of experience. He's played a lot of ball. Lincoln Riley was talking about, I've never had a center this experience as my backup going into, he's lost centers before, but he's never had one as experienced as Jaron Reed taking up the mantle. So big opportunity for Jaron Reed, and he's really excited about it. And he spoke about how helpful Killian O'Connor has been throughout his time at USC in helping him learn this offense when he first got here, and still now. Obviously Killian, really good leader, injured right now on the sideline, but he is still helping Jaron Reed to prepare for this game and get everything, button up everything going into this game. And, he called it two brains working as one. And that's kind of what Killian O'Connor's been doing despite being injured right now.
Killian continues to be a great leader. It's clear to see why he's been a captain in so many games this year. Chris, that does it for me. Any final thoughts from you on this Tuesday evening?
Not really. I like your haircut.
Thank you. I like your haircut and beard trim.
And we both like Tobias Raymond's haircut and beard trim. So.
A lot of bye-week cuts, and we took part as well. It's almost like we're on the team. I'm kidding. We're not even close to being on the team. But, yeah, a lot of guys took this time to get cleaned up.
But I'm just excited to be back in the thick of it. Sometimes the bye week, you're a little slower. You get to rest a little bit, get to do some things you've been, putting off, and then jump right back into it. And then we have one in, 2 weeks after that? Yeah. So it's a weird start-stop for us, but excited to be covering a big game this Saturday and should expect a rocking Coliseum.
Going to be crazy. He's Chris Trevino. I'm Connor Morrissette. This has been Instant after USC's Tuesday practice of Michigan Week. We'll see you next time.